Hey everybody, welcome to our coverage of the 9.2 Race to World First. I'm Dratnos, joined by Tettles. Today we have a little bit of a pre-show one. So what's going on today?
So today we're going to be talking about predictions. We're going to be talking about splits. It's like in the middle of their first day. There's a lot of splits to be done. We're going to talk about just like kind of what to expect the first day. But most of this show is going to be about our predictions. Over the course of the next however long the Race to World First is active, we're going to be bringing daily videos in like regards of recaps, what to expect the next days, how the guilds are faring, mostly aimed at like the top 5 to top 10 range, with emphasis mostly in the top 2, Liquid versus Echo. But we're going to basically be covering pretty much all of the guilds as we see fit whenever they are making moves in the Race to World First.
Yeah, for people that are new to this, I think you'll see a lot of guilds talking about running Race to World First events. But it is very much true that there's like two titans of the Race to World First scene right now. It's Echo and it's Liquid. We're here at the Echo event in Hamburg at Arcadia. So that's going to mean that we're going to be releasing at this sort of weird time for Americans.
Yeah. So previously, last event, we were recording it at like 3 a.m. local time.
Yeah, now we're recording it at 1 a.m. different local time. Much different local time. So
yeah. So it's definitely going to be coming out like probably in the middle of the NA day. But it's going to be coming at a consistent time. There are going to be things that are probably going to change overnight, like after we end up like going to sleep and whatnot. We'll just cover those in the next daily recap if important things do occur.
Yeah. So with that being said, let's do some predictions about which guilds are going to win and what the top 5 is going to look like. Last tier, we had... That's not...
Predictions, of course.
Yeah, this is the Echo Pick'ems if anybody wants to make your own. It's a really cool site to use for that. The options for first and second, as far as I'm concerned, anybody guessing something besides Echo or Liquid for either of those two spots is making a very bold prediction.
Yes.
Which of the two guilds gets the win? I wouldn't blame you for either pick, though. They are both so phenomenally good, and the competition has been so close. On average, the past couple tiers, they have been really, really good. And of course, the last 2 tiers were won by 2 different guilds, right? One was Liquid, that was Nathria, and one was Echo, that was last tier. Innsbruck are the first ones.
So who do you think is going to win this tier then?
For my predictions, I put Liquid, but I'm rooting for a good, clean race. Both teams to have fun. There are a couple ways this race ends in disaster.
Every race ends in disaster.
Well, there's a couple different ones though. There's kind of one that screws over Echo. There's one that screws over Liquid, right?
Yeah.
The situation where Liquid gets screwed over is if they make it to one of those last 3 bosses well ahead of Echo, they've earned a nice lead going up to that point, and then they reach a buggy or overtuned boss, they pull it for a couple days, Echo catches up, and then it gets nerfed.
Yeah.
That sort of happened on Queen Ajara, and is a horrible way for a race to go, in my opinion. The other horrible way for a race to go would be...
Most common horrible way, actually.
Never has happened yet, so not really particularly common, but commonly talked about.
Yeah, sure.
Is the 16-day head start.
16-hour.
Yeah, 16-day head start would be a really big advantage. My guild still couldn't win with that, but any of these definitely could. Which would be if you made it to particularly the 3rd reset, when double legendaries come out, you gain a 10% damage power spike without having to do anything else. You open your Great Vaults as well, another couple percent there. You roll back in, and if you have the Jailer at like 10% health consistently, it's just dead. And so if we get to that 15th day, there's a huge chance that Liquid will immediately win by extending, and there'll be basically no counterplay to it.
10 to 15% throughput power spike across your whole entire raid is like basically insurmountable. If I was flipping a coin, I would I feel like these guilds are 50-50 if in isolation all variables are equal. I think for me personally, I think that Liquid's probably got the advantage just due to what you said about the reset. I also think that they have a little bit of an advantage in regards to the last 3 bosses not being tested. Liquid does this thing a lot of times where they are very good at doing an intended strategy at the fight and throwing their head at the boss. Echo is a lot more finesse, a lot more prep. They come in with some unique strategies for how to tackle things a lot of the times, and it works out super well. But without the preparation, without the PTR testing, how is that going to play to them? Are they going to be able to adapt on the fly is one of the biggest things that you're going to have to see. I think it's going to be an incredibly close race. I think if I had to put odds on it, I'd be like 52-48.
Honestly, I can't get far from 50-50 in either direction, so I agree with you there. I do like your point, though, about Liquid being kind of improvisers and able to sort of wing it and make something happen on the fly. Even they sometimes don't know how they did certain fights. You remember, God, what was that worm boss in Nyalotha? The one that was like just rooted in the middle of the room.
Il'gynoth?
No.
Drestagath.
Drestagath, yeah. That was a boss where, at the time, complexity limit, they killed that thing in like 10 pulls.
Yes.
Everybody else was struggling with that boss.
30 pulls.
Yeah, and you asked them how they did it, and they're like, we don't know. We just kind of did the fight. We did what it seemed like was right at any time. We still don't know what any of the timings are. We literally just kind of made some calls on the fly, and it worked. So.
And sometimes that works out well for them, like
Yeah.
on Drestagath. Sometimes it doesn't work out great for them. Like Painsmith, their positioning for the spikes in recent memory, the one that mostly sticks out to my mind is like their Sire Denathrius Piece 2 strategy. While they still did get world first, basically everybody adopted the Echo way of doing the Sire Denathrius phase 2, how you were going to the Huntsman, that kind of stuff. And so it's like, is Echo going to be able to, like, how are they going to be able to improvise? Is Liquid going to be able to just, like, pull the boss, do the boss the intended way, maintain an advantage because of the initial 16 hours like they normally do? What's going to really happen on that front? I think that's going to be the most exciting thing to see.
Then in spots 3 through 5, the previous top 5 was filled by guilds such as SK Pieces. There's something up there. SK Pieces, who are... Yeah, there was Pieces. Now they're picked up by SK Gaming, so really cool glow up for that guild.
Yeah.
And we got Method, and we've got BDGG. There's a chance that a new contender
Aster
pushes into the
version?
top 5. Aster, people talk about a lot. Powerful guild from the Chinese region. They were somewhat hyped last tier. Didn't end up really showing as much as the hype, but sometimes you need a tier to kind of get your feet under you, get things figured out. Maybe that's happened for them. Aversion, they've been in the top 10 for several years.
Forever.
They haven't dropped out of top 10 in ages. Breaking into top 5 would be big for them, yeah.
I do think that the SK Pieces Method BDGG tier, it really feels like those guilds are quite close, and I do still think that they're, at least in my mind, probably going to stay in the top 5.
I agree.
I think that if I had to pick a guild that was going to bust into the top 5 and break that mold, it would most likely be Aster.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, it feels like every tier would kind of hype up some of the Chinese guilds as, like, this underdog story, especially some of the times that, like, JTH and Alpha would come in with really quick, like, world third kills on some bosses, but they weren't really able to close. I think that, for me, to put Aster in the top 5 on a prediction, I would need to see more change out of, like, the high-end Chinese rating region. They were very good in MDI, very good in TGP. They absolutely have the quality of players it takes to get there. We just need to see it.
Yeah, definitely a region that we, it's a little bit more of an unknown every time.
Yeah.
We have a pretty good handle on, like, what the roster changes mean for each guild in the top 5 in the Western regions, but, like, it's hard to say. It's hard for us to know when we see, characters leaving and joining Aster, like, whether they got stronger or weaker, right?
Okay, so let's talk about 3 through 5 then. Who do you think is going to be your third place?
Of the guilds there, I still like Pieces, I think.
Okay.
Pieces, they surged ahead to third last time in Sanctum. After they were 5th on Kel'Thuzad, but they surged ahead to that third. I think that guild is really powerful. They've gained an org, so they've got more resources this time. They have lost some players to Method in particular.
Yeah.
Andy Brew, Thanner, right?
Wildy.
Thanner may have already been in Method. Yeah.
I think Thanner was already in
Yeah,
Method.
so they've lost some really strong players to Method, but I still like that guild, I think, overall.
I think I had them at 5th because of the losing players. In my mind, the third place team was BDGG, and I think a lot of that actually came down to, I suspect that this race, at least for Echo and Liquid, ends on like the 10th, 11th, 12th day. And I expect these guilds that are in the 3, 4, 5 range to kind of struggle for a couple days to be able to get down Jailer, assuming that it's tuned well. And then BDGG gets a massive double legendary power spike.
It's the 16-hour head start, but not for world first, but for world third.
That's why I have them. That's why I had BDGG, I think, in my mind at third.
I think that's a very logical argument, so
Yeah.
I like where you're coming from there a lot. And then that would leave Method in 4th for, I think, both of us. Then,
Yeah,
as
I would have
our-
Method in 4th.
Yeah,
and
we
then-
just have 3rd and 5th swapped.
Yep.
Cool. Method, another guild that's roster has been improving. Obviously they had a very impressive rise to this rank over the last couple tiers, so definitely a guild that, all of the guilds in that 3rd through 5th range have world first aspirations.
Yeah.
The problem is the competition is just so rough, and the 1st and 2nd guilds are also gaining so much every tier, so
Dude.
so hard to catch them.
It's very hard to catch up. I want to live in a world where we have like a 3 to even 5 horse race. I think if we had a 3 horse race in my mind, that would be super super sick.
Yeah. The more orgs that need casters, the better for us. Let's take a look at the next topic we have here, which is the splits that are going on right now. And in fact, as the time of recording this, we're like 5 hours into the North American reset. Last I checked, World First Mythic Vigilant Guardian remains unclaimed. That may have changed.
World First Might.
If that happens, if your guild gets World First Mythic, a Mythic World First boss, that would be quite something. So
Caster first.
Anyways, the point here is that the real World First day rating contenders have all chosen to go Heroic as their first order of business, which is pretty rare. Normally you would go Mythic first, and then you would break for Heroic once you encountered a wall, once you had a better idea of which characters you wanted to gear.
Yeah.
And because going Mythic first enables you to trade items in Heroic, but going Heroic first doesn't enable you to trade the similar items in Mythic. This time, there's this getting 4-piece incentive, which is such a huge power spike that it will save enough progression time, these guilds think, to justify the timing change.
Having talked to the players a little bit too, it locks them into their mains is like the biggest thing. So like once they do get like a 2-set, 3-set, 4-set even potentially on their main, on their character, that locks in their main and it prioritizes which character they want to bring to Vigilant Guardian. It prioritizes which character they want to bring to like the first couple. It's not because it's not because the bosses, the first couple bosses are unkillable. They're probably quite easy, especially the first 3 if I had to guess. But it's like a question of, do you want that Moonkin that person has 2 or 3 copies of to be his permanent character, or do you want accidentally like potentially mythic loot to get locked onto that character, which would be pretty detrimental. So what you're seeing right now is Liquid, BDGG, Sonic's Imperative and stuff like that are also doing a lot of splits. They're killing Rygolon and Lords of Dread as many times as they can on Heroic.
Right.
They're not doing full splits, but they're doing like some mains, some alts. It's not like really bad splits where you're running like a terrible comp or anything, but they're doing as many Rygolon and Lords of Dread heroics as they possibly can. Then they're going to extend their lockout on Rygolon and Lords of Dread normal to get as much tier as possible, because once you have picked up the tier from both of those 2 bosses, if a character does have tier from them, you can almost ensure that they get their 4-set through the use of helpers and through the use of like Great Vault and like trading and stuff like that, because their helpers now have had a reset of gear. They've also had a reset of vault to be able to pick tier from, and now they can trade normal tier at a much higher rate.
Yeah, coming into this week with that first Great Vault, there are hundreds of thousands of characters that can trade tier from Anduin, Halandris, and Lehuvim. But there were 0 characters that could trade tier from Lords of Dread or Rygolon. Those are the kind of pivotal sources of 4-set. If you want 4-set, you have to go through Lords of Dread or Rygolon, and then you can sort out those earlier 3 that were already available last week much more easily, especially if you're throwing around millions of gold per traded item.
And now, like with that being the case, you can ensure that your Moonkin, your Hunter, your Warrior, the biggest one, the Warrior and the Enhancement Shaman, probably those are the ones, and then the Demonology Warlocks, those are like the ones that you're really looking to get the 4-set on. And just making sure that they have people that have the ability to be able to trade to those more utilized specs and classes. That's going to be big. And a lot of the time, these raiders have also been talking about, who's going to be in, who's going to be in, who's going to be in. It ultimately comes down to who has the tier and who has the 4-set, because those power spikes for some specs are massive, upwards of 25% even.
Yeah, this is why we've been seeing the mirror mains phenomenon, which people were kind of doomsaying about mirror mains being a factor all of Shadowlands for various reasons.
Covenants.
It was going to be for Covenants in 9.0, it was going to be for Shards in 9.1. Turns out tier in 9.2 was the thing that's actually caused these guilds to not do, 5 alts of 5 different specs you might want, but instead do 4 alts of your main spec and 1 alt of like some other spec that you're pretty good at that might be an option if your main spec is bad. But mostly it's about playing a bunch of warriors if you're a warrior main, and one of them is going to have 3-set, and that character is going to kill Rygolon and Lord's Dread heroic twice. You're going to try really hard to get tier from that, and if you don't, you're shelling out 10 million to somebody to trade you one on normal, which is quite a hard thing to set up.
Yeah, which that's not real. And the reason that that's problematic is because you have to have a guild for those helpers that is already good enough to kill Rygolon and Lords of Dread heroic. Which those fights didn't look that bad, especially off the back of like Anduin heroic. But it's not easy to get players that have killed those bosses.
There are very few such players that would not be doing that raid on normal with their own guild is the thing. So you need to offer enough gold to pull people away from clearing normal with their guild, which 10 million is a number that does that for a lot of people. So
Yeah.
that's why. But it does. I mean, I hate the way that this works out, especially because if you're trying to break into this top 5 as a guild, you're just like, okay, we got to spend 500 million gold every tier in order to compete with the top 5 now. Like that is a very daunting prospect for what is already an extremely daunting task of breaking into this top 5 with the players the caliber they are right now.
Kind of unfortunate that we're not seeing Mythic the first day from these guilds, but
I'm sure we will by the time the resets or the daily is over. Yeah.
Oh, maybe. At least though, we're not gonna have to do splits like randomly on a Monday.
That's true. Yeah. The fact that heroic splits are getting done early is it kind of gets it kind of rips the Band-Aid off, right?
It is a bit deflating off the very beginning of the raid instance, but
yeah. That was always, dude. If any of you have ever wanted to know what casting Race to World First is like, there's one universal feeling for among everybody who's ever done it, which is you're having a good day, you're excited to cast something cool on Mythic, they've been making good progress on a boss, your shift starts and they break for heroic splits, and you're just like, no.
And then you have to cast 5 hours consecutively of just heroic splits, and you're like, oh, it's called split prison.
Yeah, it's rough for the players, it's rough for the casters, it's rough for everybody. So get it out of the way early, and then we've just got the fun stuff ahead of us. It's like eating your vegetables first on your plate.
I love vegetables. Anyways, anything else you want to talk about?
Nope. That's I think that's gonna be it for our first day recap. We'll be back in another 24 hours or so with what's happened in the first of Liquid's day, the first of Echo's day, and then the start of the second day in NA. I guess we'll also have info about.
These should be uploaded around the same time every day.
Ish. Yeah, we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyways, in the meantime, hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.